Hi guys, my name's Connor. I'm a science fiction, political, and philosophy nerd, Marine Corps law enforcement veteran, never Trump Republican, and a alternative media and online politics enjoyer. We have a interesting debate today. It's going to be Tali Botz and Soy Pill versus a couple of red pillars on whether or not sexism is based. So let's go ahead and get them onto the screen, and let's see what's going on.
With me, Speak Easy, David Cooley from No Fugazi podcast, Tali from Tali Botz, and of course, the Soy Pill. They are here this evening to debate the the statement, sexism is good for society. Speak Easy, would you like to start with your opening statement, please?
First off, thank you, Sarah, for moderating this, and my partner in opposition.
I need to get onto Raging Tomato. I know it's like a smaller show. Like I think they have a few thousand live. I think they got 20K subs. But if she is neutral enough to keep getting these kind of right-wing people to get with these kind of left-wing people, that's going to be a good space.
That joined. Thank you for that. And let's get right to it. Sexism, defined as discrimination based on sex, is not bad for society. It's good for society, and it's not just good, it's necessary. It's the whole reason civilization exists at all. If you all look around you, every single one of you on the panel, in the chat, lives in a world built on sex-based discriminations. Do you guys like women's bathrooms? That's sexism. You like women's sports? That's sexism. You like those nightclubs letting the women in for free on ladies' night? Sexism again. You like to rule women and children first when the ship sinks? The most extreme form of sexism. Yet nobody argues against it when lives are on the line. Why? Because sexism works. It makes society function. Socially, we accept all kinds of sex-based boundaries because they bring stability. That's why we keep bathrooms and locker rooms separate. That's why women-only gyms exist. And these aren't flaws in society. These are features that everyone wants. Legally, sexism has always been protective. Women are exempt from the draft while men are sent to die. The Fair Labor Standards Act of 1938 and a bunch of different protective labor laws barred women from heavy industrial jobs and specific chemical plants posed on reproductive health risks because they knew they had to protect the reproductive bottleneck of society. And this is all discrimination, and it's discrimination that society demanded and still demands today.
Nice. Now, I know that I shouldn't be, everybody's like, Connor, be a Democrat, be a Democrat, be a Democrat. I'm sorry, what was I supposed to disagree with this guy on? So obviously, like when we're talking about sexism, I think what most people interpret that as is like unfair sexism, where women have the talent or ability to be in certain fields or certain hobbies, and they are excluded from those hobbies and those fields just based on the fact that they have like a female reproductive genitalia. And so as a result, there's no real reason for women not to participate in the space. But I'm going to admit it, I'm kind of a chud in reference to this. Like, I'm perfectly okay with it. If I'm to have a game night with the boys. I actually did this in high school, by the way, super funny. So there was this girl who liked me, who was crushing on me, and we did date eventually. But before we dated, there was this friend group, and it all had dudes in it, and they all played Halo, and they all smoked pot. And so one of the first times that I hung out with this friend group, I had 2 Xboxes, I had a LAN Ethernet cable, and I said, bring all the boys over. We're going to get baked and we're going to play video games. No girls allowed. And that girl who was crushing on me, she was furious because she thought that that was going to be the social pretext of me hanging out with the group, was going to be an opportunity for all of us to hang out. But the truth is, I was being sexist. I think women kind of bring down the vibe of hanging out with the boys. I think that I wanted to get baked and play Halo, Halo Combat Evolved, the original, and talk shit and say slurs and get wild. And so we had a game night with the boys, and it was awesome. And so if there was some woman who was going to walk around and be like, you can't do that. You have to invite women because you're discriminating them just because they have different social perspectives than you and they have different genitalia, then I would be like, I don't care. I still want game night with the boys. Right. So I think there's healthy sexism and unhealthy sexism. And so I'm curious how the liberals are going to respond. And once again, I do have to use the restroom. My apologies. Chair react. I have to listen to my bodily functions because I was in the hospital last week. So I'll be right back. But speakeasy chat, please tell me what I was supposed to disagree with.
Economically, sexism drives markets. Industries like fashion, cosmetics, entertainment, these are all billion-dollar empires built on sex-based discriminations. Even nightclubs use sexism to drive revenue. Entertainment thrives on it. From male heroes to damsels in distress to the women's sports leagues that nobody watches, these differences make culture compelling. Eliminate sexist archetypes and you erase most of culture. You put women's and men's sports leagues, women are vanished from sports overnight. The only reason women's sports exist at all is because of discrimination. And for survival, it's not even debatable. Societies that embrace sex-based roles thrived. Those that didn't collapsed. Men take on hardest, most dangerous jobs, and this frees women to manage homes and raise families. You send men to fight and die because women are the reproductive bottleneck. You protect them, and your society lives on. So here's the bottom line. Sexism isn't going anywhere. It's in our laws, our bathrooms, our sports, our survival strategies. And here's the biggest kicker. Even feminism agrees with me. And I'm not advocating for feminism, but let's be honest. The entire movement is built on the idea that women deserve some special treatment. That's sexism. By definition, feminism says sexism good. It's just selectively for women. Which means if the opposition...
All right, bro. I get it. Holy shit. It's not that it wasn't a good opening. I thought it was an excellent opening. However, just a little bit too long. I know I'm a verbose person, so this is the pot calling the kettle black, but still.
Enforcing rights for women, but for female sex, for the female sex, they cannot enforce their own rights. So it's inherently just sexist. So
oh no, it's the power doctrine. Shit.
if you believe in feminism and if you think that's good, then obviously you think that sexism is good, just like Speakeasy said. I also make another confident assumption that they are pro-abortion. I believe that these two have some type of view of...
Oh, Lazy Habit says, what's crazy is that these people don't even understand that you weren't the one to even orchestrate all this content you guys do. I'm the one who pushed for it, fully expecting it not to happen. Yeah, I don't know if Lazy Hobbit is my friend in Discord. I'm not going to send their Discord handle. But effectively what happened, I'll just go full screen for this. And for those of you who have no idea what I'm talking about because you're watching this as a VOD, I'm getting some criticism. This is why I like Doobie, by the way. I understand that, like, some people in my chat, like Ved Sunil, for instance, Ved Sunil, like, hates Doobie. I get disliking people, but I think his passion is a little misplaced. So Doobie was articulating the strongest criticism of me continuing to associate with Stephen Bennell II, the streamer known as Destiny. But I think I addressed it relatively speaking. But yeah, this is the narrative, is that, like, everybody in the orbit effectively said, after the allegations came out, they said, I'm not working with Steven anymore, or they said, I'm not his friend anymore, or they said, I'm distancing myself until the legal stuff is resolved, or they said, whatever, right? And so for me, this is like Steven's chickens coming home to roost. If you actually watch the 2022 content that Steven was making, where he's talking to ABBA and he's talking to Melina, and he's saying, like, I'm living my best life. I'm totally healthy. I'm having fun. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. Realize, meanwhile, at the same time, that he was still messaging Anna, that he was messaging Rose, that he was, hooking up with random people, et cetera, et cetera. ABBA was saying, like, dude, eventually this is going to blow up in your face. Well, to me, November 2024 was when this stuff finally blew up in Steven's face. And so I agreed with ABBA in 2022. I knew that this was going to blow up in Steven's face. So I wasn't surprised at all. And I was like, okay, hopefully he learns his lesson. And he's learned it in one regard, but he hasn't learned like 80%, 90% of what people want him to learn. And so the question is whether or not, like, Steven is such a stubborn asshole that, and by the way, I say that with love, but it's whether or not he's such a stubborn asshole that he's just going to ride the wagon until the wheels fall off, which is self-destructive behavior. And I think he's engaged in some self-destructive behavior right now, or whether or not he's going to learn his lesson. And I've watched alcoholic friends kill themselves. I've watched heavily drug addicted friends, destroy their lives. I've seen it happen, and it's sad. It's sad when you watch somebody like slowly destroy their life. Now, I think that Steven's habits are probably more healthy than alcohol or heroin. But at the same time, like when somebody's being self-destructive, you say, hey, I like you, think you're a cool person, but I think you're fucking up. And this is how you're fucking up, and you're hurting other people and you're hurting yourself. Fucking stop. And then if they listen to you, awesome. And if they don't listen to you, then you just kind of have to watch them circle the drain. So it is what it is. It is what it is. But Lazy Hobbit, if I think it's the same person that I'm talking about in Discord, he was like, hey, Steven wants to go shooting. He wants to hang out. Would you be down? Well, I don't even know if he said that, but he said, would you be down to go shooting with Steven in South Florida and hang out and bullshit, and maybe you guys could do a podcast afterwards? And I was like, yes, absolutely. And then we had a good time, so we did it again. And then we had a good time, so we did it again. That, a lot of people, because Steven's being so digitally canceled right now, they can view that as an endorsement of his bad behavior. And I think that's most of the criticism that I've gotten, is that I'm endorsing Steven's bad behavior. But I think I've made hours of content criticizing Steven's behavior. But the one thing that I don't do is I just don't freak out on him. That's like the one thing that I'm not doing. I'm just not. I think I say probably 70% of what Queeman and J-Stock and Doobie's justified criticism is of Steven, but I don't freak out on him. And I think that's the difference. Doobie says, but he's a grown-ass man. It's his business. Yeah, and if I engage in bad behavior because of my association with Steven, then I think everybody who's criticizing me right now can say, hey, Connor, this is what you get for associating with a bad guy. But if I continue to live by my principles and my values and my morals and my virtues, and I push a friend who I think has an incorrect, principled moral value set to become a better person over time, that's just life. That's just life. So, I was a human being before I was a YouTuber. So that's why I'm not like constantly trying to backstab everyone I know for clout.
Anti-natalist view. An abortion is in itself sexist because it takes two to make a baby, but women hold all reproductive rights over men.
Oh man, what am I supposed to be disagreeing with again? Somebody please tell me. Gen X, save me. Say something liberal and progressive. Please say something liberal and progressive. I'm agreeing with the red pillars.
So I'll go ahead and make my opening very short there. Since Speak Easy, he broke it down perfectly for me. I have a lot to say, but you used a lot of what I was going to say, so I'll make it short and I'll bring it to the opposition.
Perfect. Thank you, David. Tali, to you.
Okay, thank you.
Save me, liberals. Save me, liberals and progressives. Please say something that refutes what they have said or steelmans your own position so I switch sides, because right now I'm siding with the red pillars.
Thank you, Sarah, for having us. Thank you, gentlemen, for bringing us to this debate. Is sexism good for society? I'll start this off by saying that I am not someone who complains about sexism. I think that social animosity between the sexes goes both ways, and I don't concern myself with accusations of toxic masculinity, the gender pay gap, or female underrepresentation in the sciences. We are a sexually dimorphic species. We have evolved to be different.
Tali Botz is saying red pill shit.
And to be able to recognize these differences within each other. Like our opponents, I believe that there are, on average, significant and meaningful differences between the sexes, both
No, Tali, no. And by the way, it's not that I don't agree with her. The thing is, I agree with her, but I'm waiting for the counter argument that isn't going to be a bunch of like conservative red pill concessions. Look at Raging Tomato, by the way. This might not be on purpose, but if you actually look at her face, she's sipping her coffee and staring at the screen, so it looks like she's shocked and terrified by what's being said.
biological and psychological, and that these differences are at the core of the discrepancies that we see between men and women, not discrimination or patriarchy. It is precisely for these reality-based reasons that I do not believe that sex discrimination is good for society. People tend to sort themselves on the basis of their skills, their interests, and their needs. These tend to fall on sex lines, but there will always be exceptions.
Yeah. Grassroots says Diorio was 4,500 yesterday. Now he's around 6K. We're creeping back up. We're creeping back up to 100. I think that there was probably, somebody was saying that there was an anything else test stream. So I'm sure that some people went and checked that out in order to see if there was actually a show going live, because let's face it, we have DGG crossover. But then also, I do think that there's a bot war. I think YouTube and Twitch is killing bots. So Steven was at 10K. He dropped down to like 6 or 7. Asmongold and Tectone had a 20%, 30% drop in their viewers as well when Twitch went after the bots. And then I would say I went from probably like 200, 150 to between 100 and 150, which isn't too bad. That's still, for me, you know, as a budding streamer, I think that's good numbers. What is that? That's like, I'm effectively entertaining 5 to 7 classrooms worth of people. That's cool. You know, I know a lot of people poop. They poop on 100 viewer Andes, but I mean, you're entertaining 5 classrooms worth of people. That's cool.
We should demand competence and retain high standards, but we should not deprive our society of advancement or success on the basis of an individual sex.
True.
The answer to the future is female feminism is not repeal the 19th red pillism. America
True. All right, go off, Tali, go off.
And our allies in the West are the greatest societies to ever emerge in history. We can promote healthier cultural messages to young men and to young women without approximating the repressive cultures of the shithole countries around the world.
True. Get him, Tali. Get him.
It sounds like our opponents are arguing in favor of sexism against men, but that's obviously not the topic of conversation here. I take it that the prompt was not designed to promote the WNBA, so I would ask our opponents, what really are their prescriptions? What sexist prescriptions are they calling for this country? Thank you.
Well, hold on. Doobie, I want to be a little bit more honest than every other streamer that you know, okay? There are growth reasons to stick with Steven, okay? Let's do this. New. I'll actually draw it. I'll be more transparent than everybody else in the space. So there is... Maybe it's because I do have like a conservative temperament. Okay, maybe it's a conservative temperament that Control Z, Pisco, Hutch, IRI, Soy Pill, and Josiah. This is the live and learn crew. I'm just going to be very transparent with who I am, what I'm about, who I care about and why, and all that kind of stuff. So, and Josiah, if you see this segment, just know that I love you, even though I'm highlighting our our professional dynamic, even though I'm highlighting our professional parasocial dynamic, I still love you. Soy Pill. What is it? Who's the other host? It's Hutch and IRI, right? Those are the other people. And by the way, they ended up doing what I said they should do. I think they might have lost a progressive somewhere. Like they lost Econo Boy, but I'm hoping that Josiah and Soy Pill. Soy Pill's the new progressive. So having IRI, it's so funny. My criticism was unironically, Josiah doesn't like to throw poop. He likes to kind of like moderate and be in the middle of the conversation and direct the conversation, and then he throws an elbow every now and then. But Josiah, Soy Pill, if Soy Pill and Pisco are the progressives, and then Hutch and IRI are the normie libs, and then they fight, this is like the perfect dynamic that I wanted them to engage in. But let's be real. I think Josiah is currently his live streams obviously aren't the biggest in the world, but I think he has like, what, 600K subs? Josiah's a monster. I say that with utmost like reverence and respect. You understand that Josiah Pondering Politics was a 30 to 100 view Andy at his peak as a streamer, but as a YouTuber, you know, my criticism is that he delivers talking points, but he just found his formula and found his niche. And his niche is 10 to 20 minute videos of this thing is happening in politics right now, DC horse racing, alt media, big creator horse racing. And he just posts 10 to 20 minute videos talking about a hot topic 3 times a day. And he just gets decent views on every single one of them. Like 35K, this is a low video, right? But I guarantee you, formulaically, it's no different than anything else that is around here. It's just a question of the algorithm feeding it to the Trump bad, Democrats good audience. Like 15K, this is an underperforming video, but his consistency is so killer that he just destroys the algorithm. Look at this. 50, 200, 200, 40, 114, 50, 15, underperformer. But maybe people just don't like the, what is it, Breaking Trump Exposed and Bombshell Report? I don't know. Maybe the thumbnail's too busy. I have no idea. But 60, 276, 67, 370. This guy has figured out the Trump bad, Democrats good formula, and he's fucking killing it. And I'm proud of him. I'm genuinely proud of him. I knew him. You can go check our conversations. We had conversations like a year ago, maybe 2 years ago now, and I've kept them up on the channel because I'm proud of him. I am proud to have been talking to him when I thought he was a smart, sensible, nice, wholesome, chungus young man when he was itty bitty patitty, when he was super tiny. It's somewhere down here. There's a conversation in here. It would probably be after Chud Logic, truth be told. But there's a conversation in here with Josiah that has like 100 views. Where is it? Right here. 2 conversations with Josiah. 2 years ago, I had a conversation with Ruminate, not even Josiah from Pondering Politics, right? Ruminate. And it got 300 views. Okay? I am so proud of Josiah. But let's say that I was a pure Machiavellian piece of shit, which I'm not. Josiah has 600K views. He's an ascending star in the Democratic Party. People are going to want to know him. They're going to like him. He's probably going to get invited to DC events. He's probably going to be invited as alt media, but he's a wholesome chungus. And what's Steven at? He's at like 800K subs or whatever. But Steven has all of it. And then what is it? 6K live, 7K live, something like that. So Steven, there's all the incentive in the world, in my opinion, if you were a pure Machiavellian piece of shit, to say, Destiny's bad. Fuck him. He's an evil piece of shit. And then just shift over to the Live and Learn crew. Because the truth is, while Pisco is smaller, 20K, he's going to succeed. Hutch is smaller, but he still does well. I think I've seen him between 700 and 1,000 live. IRI, I don't know, but I'm assuming that he's wildly successful. I think we've talked about it. And then Soy Pill is talented enough that he's going to be successful. You could totally say, oh, Steven fell off. He's had all his dramas. You know, he's kind of stale. You know, he does this, he does that. He's crazy. He's reckless. He does all this bullshit. I'm just going to go, you know, fuck him. I'm going to go cozy up to the Live and Learn crew. That way I can profit from their ascending clout algorithmic star. Because the truth is, Josiah is going to keep going. But you know what the truth is? I like both of these people. I love Josiah. I think he's a wholesome, chungus, nice creator who's found his lane, found his niche. And I'm so proud of his success. I think Pisco is going to kill it. I think Pisco is already killing it. He's going to continue to kill it. I think Hutch and IRI know their lane. I think Soy Pill has the talent to be successful. And so this clout orbit, you could flip over to it and then avoid all the drama and stink and toxicity of being associated with Destiny's dramas. But you know, the other thing is, I'm not a pussy. That's like the other part about it is like people walk up and they're like, Steven's a bad guy, disavow. Steven's a bad guy, disavow. You don't like it that people are criticizing you on the internet? Are you crazy? And it's like, I don't give a shit. I don't care. That's not going to be the reason why if I ever disassociate from Steven, it's not going to be because of the Machiavellian flip to a younger, more wholesome Chungus person. It's Josiah. Hold on. Josiah versus Steven Machiavellian map. This would actually, truth be told, being like Josiah's best friend and sucking up to him at all times, that's probably like the smarter move. But that's not why I'm going to choose to associate with Josiah, and that's not why I'm going to choose to associate with Steven. I will, if I ever disassociate with Steven, I will front stab him to his face, preferably in person, and then it will be because of something like it'll be he's done something so criminal or so immoral and he's unrepentant that I just can't do it. You know what I'm saying? That's the only reason why I can think of like Steven could have no clout. I would still go shoot guns with him. Steven could have infinite clout. I would still go shoot guns with him. But he's going to have to cross a line where I just can't see any redemption. That's what's going to have to happen. Or excuse me, that's what's going to have to happen. So, anyways, I just wanted to make that clear. Back to this though. Speakeasy, excellent intro. Cooley, thank you. Seriously, bro. Like, thank you for saying what you needed to say, which I didn't agree with, but then jumping off and saying Speakeasy said 70% of what I wanted to say, so I'm going to go ahead and jump off early. That's so considerate of the audience. I genuinely appreciate it. Tali, thank you for making descriptive concessions to reality that I feel are accurate, but I was worried that you were just going to concede the whole debate. And thank you for pushing back now where you said that everything descriptively accurate that you said and everything descriptively accurate that they said ignores actual toxic sexism, which is kind of what you're here to talk about. And I expect Soy Pill to spurg out. Please spurg out Soy Pill for my entertainment.
Thank you, Tali, and Soy Pill to you, sir.
Yeah, I agreed to this debate because I'm generally curious as to what the affirmative position is. I appreciate that both of my opponents have shown that they can be just as retarded as women can by assuming our positions without doing any amount of research, despite both of us having numerous takes that you can just look up, which I did for Fugazi. Speakeasy, sorry, I didn't do that, so I guess I'm also stupid. Speakeasy, you said a lot of things I actually might agree with. You said that using the sexism definition that isn't pejorative, so for example, having different categories of sports isn't so bad, and I think that's totally fine necessarily. If that's all you want to talk about, I think that's a very weak conversation. However, most people view sexism as something more egregious, keeping women out of jobs, from voting, or stuck in the house. Based on what I've seen of Fugazi, that's what he advocates for. They're going to do this by fallaciously blaming all of society's current problems on women's rights, completely ignoring all of the advantages.
Burnt Queso says, what's your thoughts on the church shooters supposedly having Brandon Herrera in their manifesto and Brandon's response? I don't care, man. Lauren Southern was in the Christchurch shooter response, and it's messed up, okay? It's messed up that, what was it? It was like 3 dead, 5 dead, something like that, 2 dozen injured. It's messed up. Honestly, I am happy, though. Happy is the wrong word. I am thankful that it wasn't more. I'm thankful that the shooter didn't get access to the church / school. I'm happy that they didn't get into a classroom. I'm happy it's not 20 to 30 kids instead of 3 to 5. And that sucks. Obviously, having somebody you love snatched away from you by random, reckless violence is repulsive. But that's part of the reason why I try to be a sane political commentator. Because if you look at the really popular ones, Candace Owens, she's making the world a worse place, more violent, more destructive, more terrible. Tucker Carlson, Andrew Wilson, Stephen to some degree, Vosh, Hassan Piker, all the alt media pundits, in my opinion, they make the political tribalism inherent in our society so much worse and so much more violent because they gin these psychos up and 99.9% of these psychos are never going to do anything, which is why they excuse their own shitty rhetoric. But there will eventually be a DGG shooter. I'm half kidding. I'm kind of not. There'll eventually be. I think they just said there's a Hassan Piker guy who just got arrested for terrorism. There'll be a Bosch terrorist. There'll be a DGG terrorist. There'll be a Nick Fuentes terrorist. Arguably, there's already been Nick Fuentes terrorists. There's already a Lauren Southern terrorist. I'm sure that there's going to be or has been a Sargon of Akkad terrorist. So yeah, when you just constantly tell people that the world is falling apart, your political enemies want you dead, everything sucks, there's no hope, you know, the world is rigged against you, eventually those people are going to freak out and they're going to kill other people. And so for me, I just try not to do that. I'm trying to build a wholesome community of center left, center right people who know that the world is fucked up, but they're incremental about changing the world. So Brandon Herrera is guilty of the same sin as all of the other creators that I said, which is effectively he plays into the doomer propaganda of the world.
Advancements in technology, life expectancy, and general standard of living that we've seen since women entered the workforce. I do predict that they'll be completely unable to point to a single society in which their ideal is carried out that is better than ours, which is exhibited by the fact that they would never actually nut up and move to any of these places. Sexism is not just wrong, it's literally suicidal if you want to have anything above a third world shithole where half your population doesn't contribute meaningfully to progress.
I think that's one of the strongest arguments, by the way, and I actually like Soy Pill making this line of argumentation, is that if you genuinely believe this, if you thought that like patriarchy, giga patriarchy was good, you should move to Pakistan. You should move to Saudi Arabia. You should move to Iran. You should move to Russia. All these places are infinitely more sexist and misogynist than the United States of America. So if you think that this is the underlying foundation of society is like pro-patriarchy and men should be effectively allowed to decide everything, why don't you move to a society where men decide everything? Go for it.
Perfect. Thank you, Soy Pill. I appreciate that. Thank you, all of you, for your opening statements. As a kind reminder to the audience, if you have not yet purchased your tickets to DebateCon, please do so now. That information is available over at Modern Day Debate's YouTube channel.
Oh, nice. That's cool. There was some other schizo blondie who was running a debate channel, but she had so many Nazis in her community and they super chatted so much that I think she eventually got nuked from YouTube and nuked from Discord. And I forget her name. So Raging Tomatoes aesthetic kind of reminds me of that girl who got her Discord and YouTube channel nuked. But if Raging Tomato is moderate enough in order to maintain their platform and they're partnering up with Modern Day Debates, that's actually super based.
Otherwise, we're going to get through our...
Oh, sorry, quick chill. Like the stream, share it with your friends, engage in chat, super chats if you got them, memberships if you got them. I want to thank Sacred Snow for renewing their membership, Lawson Harrison for a super chat, Dreamcast for a super sticker, and Turtle Wow Sucks for a super sticker. Thank you kindly for your donations, memberships, super chats, etc.
Debate. We will do closing statements, read and respond to your kind super chats, and then, of course, we will move into open panel dumpster fire, everyone's favorite. Lady and gentlemen, I leave the floor open to you.
Best.
So I'm curious, like I said in my opening statement, what prescriptions you're calling for, because it seems like you focused a lot on sort of like interpersonal relations between men and women. So you gave the example of women and children, you know, getting off the sinking ship first. But that's not exactly what I would classify as sexism. I see that as just a furtherance of the acknowledgement of biological reality that women and small children are more vulnerable than the men. And so you try to get them to safety first. But if what you're calling for is people to treat people differently, you know, interpersonally on the basis of sex, that's one thing. Are you calling for legal changes? Are you calling for structural changes and discrimination on the basis of sex?
Do you not realize you're conceding when you say that I don't see putting women first on the boats as sexism? It's just reality. Sexism is reality.
What I mentioned in my opening.
Yeah,
is,
that was the
if you're
point.
saying that we treat people differently based on their ability to perform and that women on average are going to be weaker in a lot of instances, then if you're saying, well, sexism is good because we have sexually dimorphic sports categories or we have, you know, gendered bathrooms, like, yeah, congratulations, you won the debate. Sexism is having different bathrooms.
Yeah,
Now,
so
if you want to talk about like what Fugazi's probably going to get into, then we can talk
what's your
about that.
definition of sexism?
Yeah, so
I trust Soy Pill to have a good definition. Doobie asked, did you see that kid's Ja Nepal speech? No.
discrimination, but like in a like keeping women out of jobs, or saying that they can't do things based on their abilities that isn't just based on some like inherent sexual dimorphism that's like acknowledgement of reality. So
Okay, give me an example.
So, for example, I wouldn't consider it sexist to say that women can't compete in men's sports. This is just a reality that most women just aren't as strong as men. It doesn't make any sense to not have different sports categories. Sexism might be, hey, you're not allowed to do this job, or you're not allowed to vote because you are a woman. Not because of your inability to do so, but because strictly based on the circumstances of your birth.
Wait, hold on. You guys have been saying this, but is it true? Deathly says anything else is just Dan and Mr. Mooten now, Connor. It did, for real. Did Dan replace Destiny with Mr. Mooten to be less controversial and get less hate? Like, no offense to Mr. Mooten, maybe that's enough in order for like DGG to support the show and all that kind of stuff. But no offense, maybe some offense meant. I don't think I've ever seen Dan or Mr. Mooten be as entertaining as Steven is. Maybe I'm biased.
We're going to bar you from that.
Got it. So you think that what sex is, and you would say that that's bad.
Yeah, I would say that's bad. Yeah.
And how do you define what's bad and what's good?
So like I said, if you want to talk about any of these standards of living, technological advancement, just how societies perform, like in general, now that we have given women more of these rights, it's much better off. That's one way to put it. Yeah, I guess.
Okay. And do you utilize the harm principle? So as long as it's, so you don't utilize the harm principle?
Depending on how you're going to define it, but you might have to give me an example.
Well, you could define it for me. I'm asking you.
Well, what do you mean by utilize? What do you mean by utilize? Because if you're asking us to acknowledge
what is good or what is bad.
Oh, no. Oh, no. Somebody in chat said this already, that they're going to try to ape the Andrew Wilson argumentation, and it's just not going to go well. I hope that's not where this is going. I have a feeling it is, though.
So if you utilize the harm principle, meaning that, well, I see in society that this produces less harm for people or more harm, then it would be good or bad on your scale. That's how you would rate it on your scale. So sorry, real quick, just getting distracted by chat real quick. So Doobie was fair, okay? So Doobie and I have a debate relationship that goes back years. We've been, I don't know, maybe 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I became like a heel on the Prime Kai panel scene, and I think I actually showed up to every Prime Kai show for between 6 months and a year. And Doobie and I would spar all the time. And I called him out one time because he was actually just describing fascism. That's his ideology. And I was like, bro, hold up. I've just been talking to fascists 24 hours ago. You are just describing fascism. And then he was like, yeah. Classic Doobie moment. And I think we were talking about like police or law enforcement abuse. And I repeatedly, Doobie was pissing me off. So I repeatedly said that I wanted to like sodomize Doobie with a broom. And I still want to make a t-shirt. I want to make like a merchandise idea where it's like Doobie's cleaning supplies. And then I want to have the frog. And I want to have like the frog with the dragon wings holding a broom. Like nobody would get it. Nobody would buy the t-shirt. I would buy the t-shirt. I would wear the t-shirt. But anyways, Doobie was quite fair where he's saying like, I saw him, there was just some chat. Like I've left a lot of Discords because I just realized that I was like creeping, and I don't want to creep in other people's Discords. But I was creeping on a Discord after the drama, and I was seeing Doobie, and Doobie was like, oh, I think Connor has no principles. I think he's a piece of garbage. You know, I like the guy, but he's just selling his soul to the highest bidder, blah, 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 blah. And so he popped up in chat during the Destiny drama, and then I did a mind map, and then he was like, oh, shit. I understand. That's fair. And I was like, oh, okay, well, fuck it. So that's where I don't think, at least that from my perspective, Doobie is able to articulate why he's critical of somebody or why he hates somebody. And then if the information isn't accurate, he updates his perspective, as far as I know. Right? So anyways, back to the content. Utilize the harm principle or no?
That's not the exclusive way I determine whether or not something is good is bad. Obviously, less harm is good, but there are things that might be completely harmless to other people that would, promote societal discohesion. And depending on how you categorize that as well, this action in and of itself isn't harmful, but 10 years down the line, that's going to cause some big problems.
Yeah.
It's
true, like normalizing pedophilia through lolicon. I might not be able to describe a specific harm done to an individual lolicon consumer, but I can say normalizing this line of thinking is absolutely antisocial, degenerate, freak bullshit that should be excised from polite society. And it should be excised from impolite society as well.
The reason why I'm asking this question, because you already made the concession that, well, if you're going to say that, women being in men's sports, you would say that, well, if you're saying that that's sexist, then I would agree with you. And, the debate is basically over. So you would agree that women being in men's sports is not a good thing, that having this area be sexist, this would actually be a good thing, keeping women out of men's sports and keeping the sexes separated.
Yeah. Discrimination.
So therefore, I'm asking for you to define, like, what is the good? What do you perceive as good? Or are we just going to talk like over one another? You're going to say.
I think that we could easily rectify this conversation as unjustified discrimination. So Tali Botz and Soypill have already conceded something that a lot of liberals and progressives didn't concede 3 or 4 years ago, which was that we're a biologically dimorphic species with descriptively different strength characteristics and like VO2 capacity and all that kind of stuff. So as a result, like sex discrimination in sports, nobody gives a shit about. Women and children first, nobody gives a shit about it because we view it as good, because we recognize that women, to some degree, are more procreatively necessary than men are, and that men are disposable. I accept this dynamic, and I don't care about it. Now, you can say autistically, like, okay, well, that's sexism because we're making discrimination between men and women. But I think that Tali and Soypill can make the conversation productive if the other side is willing to concede and just say justified discrimination. Is there a biological reason that women can't be CEOs? Is there a biological reason that women can't write scripts for movies? Is there a biological reason why women can't be in leadership positions over institutions that are administrative or don't involve like physical labor? Absolutely not. There's no reason. So if there's a anti-female sexist bias in fields that don't make sense, that's obviously something that should be rectified. There's also sexism that's just like cultural, where you just shit talk women because they're women, like FPS gaming, like first person shooting gaming. If a woman is a talented player, then she should be able to compete in the space without being sexually harassed just because she's female, right? Or a woman if she's a trans woman. That shouldn't be the reason why you harass them. You should harass them for justified reasons.
Tell me what
is good. I'm going to say something. I'm asking you the question. I'm asking you the question.
I'm sure that at the end of the day, you're just going to point to religion, right? And you have a prescription from a bunch of different books that says, well, this is good and this is bad. And I'm going to say I use it based on my empirical association of who can enjoy life.
Your preferences.
Yeah, well, your preference for a religion is just as valid as my preference for.
Okay, fair enough. I'll go ahead and grant it. If you use it based off your preferences, if everything is preference based, right? And we're only using our preferences to determine is sexism good? Well, for you, it's good. Look, for you, it's bad. For me, it's good. It's preference-based. It doesn't matter.
When you say preference-based, when I say, well, all of society lives longer and has healthier lives, is that a preference, or is that just most people want to live longer and not die?
No, I mean, I do think that's kind of a preference, but yeah, I get what you guys are poking at.
Well, based off of what?
What is your question?
What is the good? What is the good? We are asking 3,000-year-old questions. And by the way, Aristotle already solved it, or at least solved it enough in a way that I don't give a shit to argue it. Talks about like the Nicomachean ethics. I got them here somewhere. Courage is good. Temperance is good. Liberality and magnificence, magnanimity, ambition. I would have to look up those three to figure out what the definitions of them are. Truthfulness, wittiness, friendliness, modesty, righteous indignation. This is a good start to what an ideal human should be. And what's interesting about 11 virtues of Aristotle in the Nicomachean Ethics is that he has both a negative and positive ethic. So for instance, with courage, there's cowardice, and cowardice is like the negative part of courage. But then on the opposite side of courage is like bloodthirst, like zealous, like zealous, fearless, tombstone bravery, where you just assume that you're dead, so you just do fucked up shit in order to survive. That is an opposite virtue. And so while some people might describe tombstone bravery or not caring, like recklessness or bloodthirst, they might recognize that as a virtue in battle that helps you win battle. Aristotle would actually make the argument that that's not true courage, or that's not virtuous courage, because virtuous courage is feeling fear but acting appropriately in spite of your fear. That's true courage. So yeah, so I would effectively say, like, yeah, we should study virtues and vices, and we should make moral judgments about them. 100%.
Well, you said something. I'm asking you
Right.
based off of what?
Most people don't want to die. What is this based off of?
You are making the assertion that most people don't want to
That's
die.
an evolutionary drive.
Okay,
Yes,
great.
We are driven to
Yeah, it's natural observation. Absolutely.
procreate and further the furtherance of our species.
Yeah. I don't think you're getting what I'm saying. Essentially, what I'm
I am.
saying here is, if you are utilitarianism, then everything is based off basically your preferences. It's going to reduce down to your preferences. So you'll be utilizing your preferences. So I'll go ahead and grant the.
I like Soy Pill making the argument. I might fast forward a few minutes if they keep looping, but I like Soy Pill saying that while you can claim that your moral prescriptions come from God in a book, I would argue that you are still arguing preference, because your preference is still, I prefer, what I understand to be the creator of the universe speaking to me through this book, which is as valid or invalid a preference as natural observation.
Worldview, and I'll say, well, I'll utilize my own preferences. I think
All
that
right. Do you
I
prefer
think
to
that
die?
sexism is good based off of the separation of men and women for sports. I think that sexism is good because, when the ship is going down, women and children off the ship first. I think that I can make so many prescriptions how sexism is good for society.
Doobie says, I know you've been trained in Hassan bad. I get it. No, Hassan's a fucking piece of shit, Doobie. What are you talking about? He's actually like a terrorist apologizing piece of shit. Every time I watch a clip from Hassan and then I watch the additional 2 minutes of context, I'm like, yeah, this guy's a piece of shit. I'm not like, I know you're talking to another chatter, but like, I don't understand how you can say that Hassan isn't a piece of shit. It's actually shocking to me.
You would have to grant it because in your worldview, you believe in preferences.
Yeah. So again, when you dilute everything down to the vaguity of preference, this is literally everything ever.
It's not diluting it down.
No,
it's
it
not
is,
diluting it down.
You
It's
can
what
say,
you
well,
appeal to.
you don't want to die. You don't want to stab you. Well, you're just preferring not to die. Like, yeah, that's technically true. In the same way that the way that society exists now, as Speakeasy correctly pointed out, there's tons of ways that we are sexist that probably Tali and I and probably everyone on this panel is completely fine with. But if that's all you came here to argue with is, hey guys, I think we should keep having the bathroom separate. It's like, great, cool. Is that really?
I
what
think
you're
it's
here to
really
say?
gay to
Or-
call that stuff sexist. Even like, come on, that's not what we're here to talk about. Why don't we just get to the
Bro, yeah, if you want to add like toxic sexism or something, like add some kind of qualifier so you can differentiate. I'm with Tali. Tally's doing good.
meat and
Definition.
potatoes.
Discrimination.
definition.
Okay,
based
but
on
I
sex.
take it.
But
I
once
take it
again,
that's
speak
not-
easy. These
That
two,
doesn't
they
encompass
these
your
two, they make up
concern.
their own definitions. Like, think about it. You're a lesbian. You're sexist. You only like women. You discriminate. You don't talk to men. You only like chicks.
I talk
You're a
to
sexist. So
women.
obviously,
Well,
in your worldview,
let's-
sexism has to be good.
Let's
You like women over
hold
men.
on. Let's reset here. Discrimination defined as the unjust and prejudicial treatment of different categories.
Boom, there you go. Unjust. Thank you, Sarah the Raging Tomato. Thank you. Seriously. Otherwise, this conversation is still probably going nowhere, but thank you for giving an attempt to get this conversation to go somewhere. Unjust is the word that everybody needs to focus on right now.
Categories of people, especially the grounds of ethnicity, age, sex, or disability. For the bathrooms, I feel like it's like we have a male bathroom and we have a female bathroom, right? Like, I don't foresee sexism is built into that because we each have one. Now, there's the other stuff going on, but I don't even know if that qualifies in this category necessarily.
Let me ask them a
Right.
question.
Well, no, I think I can clear this up. I mean, Fugazi, you obviously are doing like
Jack Darko says, quick, someone clip Connor glazing Speakeasy so when he cringes later, we can hold it against him. Based.
what I think is a Mott and Bailey, which, yeah, I don't think it's very easy to defend the idea of sex segregated sports or bathrooms, but I've watched your stuff. You advocate for women not being able to vote or being more in the, work. Why don't you operate on the fact that you think that sexism is good? Because that's really what we're here to debate instead of doing some pedantic bullshit about like, oh, you
what
think
we're
bathrooms
debating,
are
man.
fine? Cool.
Once
Like,
again,
let's talk about that.
you
Hold
think
on,
that
hold on,
women
dude.
not voting is bad. That's what you think. So once again, if I just go into if I grant your worldview, then guess what? It's preference based. It's my preferences versus your preferences. Which determines?
Yeah, but that we're here to debate our preferences, bro. All right, let's not fall down this rabbit hole. If they circle it, I'm going to tell you why the Andrew Wilson line of argumentation of rooting in God in the Bible is a dumb argumentative tactic.
Listen, if it's my preference, stop it. Listen, if it's my preferences versus your preferences, it's going to reduce down to force. Who can enforce their own preference?
Oh my God, he's such a fucking Andrew Wilson clone and not even a good one. Force doctrine is true, but one of the things that he doesn't understand, which a Greek philosopher, I think it was Plato. Plato discovered this 3,000 years ago. There was some dickhead Greek complaining about how all the pussification of Athens was a result of democracy and the weak voting for what they wanted and restraining the strong. And then it was Plato who pointed out, well, through governance, the weak have restrained the strong through their collective will. So is that not ultimately still the force doctrine? Now, that can be whether or not the strong care about the opinions of the weak, but in just societies, oftentimes the strong care about the opinions of the weak. And so when the weak appeal to strong people who sympathize, because we're not always strong. Any one of you could have walked into my hospital room last week and beaten the shit out of me. I had my intestine filled with infectious disease bullshit, blood, mucus, and shit. You could have walked into my hospital bed, punched me in the stomach, and laughed as I cried. Okay? We are not always strong. We are not always weak. So oftentimes the strong sympathize with the weak because they know one day they will be the weak. They were children at one time. Children are weak. They will be old at one time. The old are weak. They will be sick or infirm at some time. The sick are weak. And so the strong make concessions to the weak because they know that at one point they will share the same fate. This is like 3,000-year-old moral argumentation, and it fucking sucks, dude. It sucks. It sucks that we just don't know this already.
No, that's not what this is going to be about. What's preferences?
Okay, well then how do we know that your preferences are better than mine?
In which we are
how do we know your preferences are better than mine?
The two of you aren't going to get.
Okay.
Yeah, the two of you aren't. Hold on.
I'm asking him questions. He's not answering any of them.
I get it.
Oh my God, I haven't even seen Doobie Simfer Hassan yet. Okay. Relax. Quick shill while we continue the content. Please like the stream, share it with your friends, engage with chat, super chats if you got them, memberships if you got them. I parasocially love you. Thank you for being here. I hope you're enjoying the content.
But we're running a little too far. Like I see what you're trying to get to in terms of you're just in the.
Oh shit! Is she actually a good moderator? That's interesting.
Concept of defining good, right? And in order to define good,
the debate is sexism harm, good,
right? Like, but Soy Pill already said.
But the term is unjust. That's the term we need to focus in on. Unjust discrimination.
Preferences. He's already answered that. And
got it. Yep. So I'm asking him a question.
You already responded saying, okay, well, we're at preferences. My preference is this. So at that point, I feel like that's kind of closed, right? We've already established where
it's not closed. I'll tell you how it's not closed. So if he has a preference, his worldview reduces down to preferences, and I'll grant his worldview. This means that, well,
Melody says, bro, I think Melody's a little bit behind in chat. Bro, if my friend would kept criticizing me smoking anytime we spoke to each other, I would no longer talk to that person at a point. Sure. That's perfectly possible. Okay. It's perfectly possible that I keep criticizing Steven's bad behavior, and he says, you know what? I'm sick of somebody I hang out with criticizing my bad behavior to my face. I don't need this. I'm a millionaire. I'm successful. I can do my own shit. I don't need Connor for anything. Fuck him. I'm never going to hang out with him ever again. Steven can say that at literally any time. But I think it is incumbent upon me to, when I see somebody who is struggling or failing in a certain moral aspect, to tell them to their fucking face. I think if you don't tell someone to their face when they're fucking up, then you're being a bad friend or a bad associate or a bad coworker.
How can we make a determination of who preferences are more valid? How do we make that determination?
Right. So, Fugazi, if you had preferences for certain types of sexism, like the voting thing or the women in the workforce thing, and I say those are bad, yeah, you can just say bad, good, bad, good. Show me then a society in which these sort of things are enacted that is somehow better, because I prefer to live in America, or I think Speakeasy, or what, from Toronto, Canada. I hope that's not a dox. I think that's public. You know, these places are.
I have to show you something if it's just my preferences. What do you mean?
You can say, I prefer to live in this place. I just will never move there because it's demonstrably worse in every way, and you look like a dumb hypocrite. But sure,
But no one said that. But why do I have to
what
show
do you prefer
anything?
then?
Why do I have to show you anything if it's just my preferences?
You don't have to. You don't have to show me.
But we're here for a debate, dumbass. Holy shit. All right, we got to mind map it because Cooley's actually too stupid to understand this. Somebody tag Cooley. Somebody get Cooley in chat. I'm gonna draw this, okay? So let's do 3 belief systems, okay? And we are all under a liberal democratic system. I don't give a shit if you're like, well, I'm gonna create a Christian fascist state where your belief system no longer I don't give a shit. We live in a liberal democracy. So let's put that there. We live in a liberal democracy, okay? Liberal democratic governance tolerates many ideologies as long as you pay your taxes, right? As long as you pay your taxes, liberal democratic governance does not give a shit what you individually believe. So let's say that I'm presuming that Cooley is making the God argument, okay? There's a God who is a creator, who has revealed moral truth to humanity. And so it is incumbent upon humanity to obey these moral truths, which involve some level of, I don't know, deference to scripture. As human beings, sorry, I'm trying to go as fast as I can. We must defer to scripture as moral truth and follow its prescriptions. Its prescriptions as the word of God, which is so funny because half of these people don't do half of the shit that's in the Bible, right? This is kind of silly. It's like scriptural literalism. I think it's very silly. Whereas I say, because I'm a deist, is that men trying to understand the universe made moral prescriptions that we should understand. And we should partner this with like natural observation. So for instance, if there's a prohibition against Jews wearing multi-clothed items, right? People always cite this from Leviticus, like don't eat shellfish, don't eat pork, don't wear multiple cloth things. There's a reason why they did that. It's ceremonial law. Shellfish kills people through allergic reactions. Pigs are dirty animals who are improperly cooked. But then based off of that information, we can make judgments. So make judgments of the flawed moral understanding of ancient humans, not even ancient, of historical humans, but also make natural observations in order to complete their understanding of the universe. And what I mean by that is, for instance, like there's the elements. The Greeks understood 5 elements in the world, and I think it was like fire, air, water, and earth. And if you look, now we're up to like 238 elements. We're up to some shitload more elements, right? Because we have oxygen and hydrogen and deuterium and name another element, right? And so clearly the Greeks had an incomplete understanding of the natural world. However, if you look at solid liquids and gases as classifications of elements, and then if you also look at fire being a transition of elements between heat states, then it's pretty clear that the Greeks were understanding real phenomena. They just had an incomplete understanding based off of the science and technology available to them at the time, right? And so the whole point that I'm making is like, we should, this would be soy pills perspective. There is no God. The only judgments we should make are based on verifiable reality. But then we get into like the postmodern conceptions of like anti-reality, where experiences are so subjective that they're all arbitrary, which is funny because effectively the deists, the Andrew Wilson Christian nationalists, they use postmodern anti-realism to argue for why you must lean not on your own understanding, right? You have to rely on scripture because it's ordained by God. And if you, we can only make natural observations, and the observations of ancient people are often stupid, cruel, and evil, and should be thrown out. I get into fights with my chat about this all the time, by the way. I'm right here. We should study the Greeks. We should study the Egyptians. We should study the Romans. We should study the Bible. We should study scripture. We should study moral understanding. We should study 19th century philosophers. We should study everything. And then we should pair that with our understanding of the current natural world based off of current technology in order to make moral prescriptions. This, relying on our Iron Age mystics in order to understand the world, and this, throwing out all ancient wisdom, in my opinion, are stupid ways to interact with reality. But the truth is, under a liberal democratic system, we're all tolerated. So how do you understand reality? This is based in true. This is the official, you don't have to agree with it, but this is the official position of the COG community, okay? Understand and study scripture, understand and study Greek philosophy, understand and study history, but pair that with your own personal experience and natural observations. Okay? This is fucking liberal and progressive cringe. This is traditionalist bullshit. Thank you. Let's quick chill, like, share, subscribe, engage in chat, super chats if you got them, memberships if you got them. Thank you for being here.
I gave you
Really I wouldn't validate anything to you if I'm just appealing to my preferences. So based off of in your worldview, everything is subjective. It's subjective morality, basically. You derive what's good and what's bad
Fuck you. You don't even understand these concepts.
Subjectively based off your own preferences. So in your worldview, how can you criticize me if I'm going to say, well, I think this thing is bad?
You don't exist
because you're wrong.
Your preferences. You say, I want to live in a society that this is this kind of sexist, and you won't go live in
that enforces my preferences.
That society because you have all the benefits of a less sexist society. So you just look like a big hypocrite. But yeah,
no, not at all. Let's ask you a question. Do you believe that abortion is good? Women having
nothing to do with
depends on when, right? And depends on circumstance, right? So I don't think abortion is good. I think abortion disproportionately is bad. However, if there was a fetus diagnosed with Tay-Sachs and it was going to be born with horrific suffering and pain for the entirety of its brief and short existence, I 100% would view abortion or euthanasia as preferable to continuing that life. Anybody who's suffered understands this. The oblivion, I of course hope that I reincarnate or meet God or go to paradise and get to see my dog again and get to see some of my relatives again and all, like I hope all that, heaven bullshit, right? But I don't expect it. What I expect is that I'll go into oblivion, and then maybe 36 billion years from now, if the universe is cyclical, we will reiterate as the same human beings that we were 36 billion years ago, and we'll be having these conversations again, but we'll all be free to make minute changes within our lives based off of the minute changes within cyclical reality. I think that's possible, but I won't have any memory of my previous lives, and therefore that's sad and it sucks, and I don't like death or mortality. I forget what the fuck I was talking about. But if I was to for abortion. But I think that anybody who has physically suffered to the degree, like maximally, like if you've ever suffered pain between an 8 and 10, your body instinctively wants to shut down. Your body instinctively understands that the unconsciousness of oblivion is preferable to the suffering of consciousness. And so your body will shut down on you and you will not fight it because you will be in so much pain that oblivion is preferable to pain. So that's where whenever somebody's like, yeah, I'd bring a Tay-Sachs baby into the world, I would bring a kid with horrible genetic issues that effectively guarantee that every breath is agony. When they say that, I think they have a fundamental misunderstanding of human suffering.
What I said about whether or not you want to live in a sexist society.
So, do you believe that abortion is good? Yes.
Why are you running from the question? What sexist
You didn't even
society
ask me
do you
a
want to live
question.
in? I did. I
Just
said, what
pointing out that you want to live in.
AKA Badasoy says, what are your goals when it comes to Destiny? You want him to remain a popular streamer? No, I want him to be a better person. I don't give a fuck about his streaming career. I care about Steven's streaming career insofar as I think that he could be a vehicle for good. I might sound like erudite right now, but let's say that Steven, because we had that conversation in South Florida, where I was like, what if we took 10 or 20% of the money, time, and energy spent in Twitch and YouTube politics and we channeled it into real world action? I think that's the most important thing that we could do as a community. And he's like, I 100% agree. So let's presume that Steven stopped gooning and focused 100% on real world action. Let's say that he did canvassing events. Let's say that he did volunteer events. Let's say that he did disaster relief. Let's say that he did community engagement events. Let's say he did all that shit and he took tons of cash, money, energy, and infrastructure. He's infinitely more capable of realizing that dream than I am right now. As Doobie mentioned, if I do this alone, it will take me 5 years to build what I want to build at minimum. Okay. Whereas Steven already has a 10-year head start on me. So if I could change Steven's perspective to the point that he thought that disaster relief, canvassing operations, volunteer organizations, take all the passion, money, and energy that's in DGG and direct it towards that. If I can change his mind on that, I mean, that's the goal. If he needs to be popular in order to have the money, clout, and influence in order to do those things. So that's why I want Steven to remain relevant. But I don't want him to remain relevant as a rage personality that J-Stock and Queeman milk in perpetuity and hanging out with people who I think have terrible morals. That's not how I want him to remain popular. I want him to be a better person.
Sexist
Question.
society.
What's more sexist society? Which one?
Already answered the question.
What was the question? What was the answer?
Doobie's just hanging out because he's hanging out, bro. I don't even think I've seen him talk about fucking Destiny. All y'all motherfuckers are saying that he keeps attacking Destiny. I don't even think I've seen him fucking say that shit once, except for in response to y'all. Chill out. Everybody chill the fuck out.
I'm not going to repeat myself. I'm asking you a question.
None of us heard your answer.
Yeah.
No, you heard my answer. You heard my answer.
Everybody's going at once.
Sarah,
Sarah, did you
which
hear his
country does he
answer?
want to live in that's more sexist than America?
Yeah, I didn't hear that. I didn't hear
it.
that. I
Yeah,
do
the
apologize if you
answer-
said it, but everyone
the
did
answer
go at
to the
once.
question was, it's my preferences. I don't, it doesn't matter because it's based off of my preferences. I can say that America, I can say that Ukraine, I can say any country. I can say
name one that you actually want to live in.
Look, I can say any country.
This motherfucker doesn't understand argumentation. I'm gonna skip 10 minutes. You're here to debate your preferences, dumbass. This is why I hate this bullshit. It's like, oh, all our preferences are arbitrary, so it doesn't really matter. Okay, well then your preferences is arbitrary as mine. We're here to argue about whose preference is better and for what reasons. I hate this shit. Andrew Wilson has ruined this guy's brain.
Police officers anywhere in the country, but that doesn't mean that you need to make it illegal for women to join the academy. It means that you need to maintain rigorous standards, physical standards for
True. Go off, Tali Botz. Thank you for an actual argument. I parasocially love you.
police officers. And that might result in no police officers that are women, but that shouldn't be the basis for the discrimination.
True. Thank you, Tali Botz. Unjust discrimination based.
Okay, so you could reply back to that, Speakeasy. Go ahead. No,
I was just gonna say, if you were gonna take 100 random men and 100 random women, you're more likely out of the 100 random men get more men that are capable of the physical combat. Okay.
Totally.
Did you know?
Okay. Ooh, this is a trigger topic for me. Okay, motherfucker. Sorry. Ooh. We are understaffed for law enforcement. Thanks, liberals. Thanks, Democrats. Thanks, progressives. Police shortage. A widespread police officer shortage exists across the U.S. due to decreased recruitment, increasing retirements and resignations, and factors like negative public perception and burnout. The shortage leads to decreased police services, longer wait times for calls for service, and officers working overtime. Solutions include hiring more officers, implementing alternative response models, and some blah, 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 blah. So how about all these fucking men, okay, who are arguing about how females shouldn't be cops? I was a cop. I signed up. I did my 4 years. I got brain, blood, shit. I got all that shit on my uniform. I got piss, shit, blood, sweat on my uniform. How about you stop being fucking pussies and you go sign up? Because if there's 100 men who have the physical capacity to be law enforcement officers, but they don't sign up to be law enforcement officers, and then the option is a woman who's 60 or 70% as strong as a man, but she can do 99% of what it takes to be a law enforcement officer, I'm going to hire the women who want to be cops instead of the men who are on the sidelines arguing that they could be better cops, but they never sign up to be better cops. So fuck this talking point. Fuck this talking point. You're going to prohibit women who are ready and willing to serve their communities from serving, even though they can do 99% of the job. And they can still shoot people, by the way. They might not be able to fight as well as a male officer, but they can also just shoot a suspect. So you want to prohibit female law enforcement officers, but your pussy ass is fucking, pulling out Cheeto dust from your belly button at home? Fuck you, is my response.
So when this is your chance,
you said you should hold rigorous standards, and if women can meet those, they can do the role. And if they can't, which a majority of them can't, then they shouldn't be able to do it, which is a completely...
The liberals are correct.
Normal position to have that also isn't sexist. It's just completely based on whether or not the merits of the job are able to be done, but you just ignored that completely, speaking of active listening.
Well, based
how
off
are you
of
listening?
Fashion 40 says we did that Monday, and I think Connor was not overly pleased. What did we do on Monday? Where's the, can we kick Doobie for the day? Yeah, listen, wrenches can do wrench shit. Like, I'm not going to freak out because I don't think Doobie's going to freak out either. You know what happens when you kick Doobie? Is he DMs me, and then I read his DM. He basically gets to super chat for free. So, there was somebody else in here who was like, hey, check your DMs. Doobie is DMing you. Doobie, whenever you kick Doobie, he basically gets free super chats. So you can kick Doobie if you want to make yourself feel better, but I haven't seen him behaving poorly. What has he done? Why are you kicking him? Are you kicking him because you don't like him? I don't think that's a good enough reason. There's plenty of people I don't like.
you just said on Well, based off of your worldview again, everything is preference based. So
Shut up about the worldview, koozie or doozy or whatever the fuck your name is. You don't know how to argue properly. The fact that you're a creator at all is blowing my mind.
it's based off of perception. So you may perceive something to be, good or bad, and he may perceive.
Yes, just or unjust, and we're here to argue about just and unjust sexism. You tool. This guy sucks.
It differently.
Right. So I think that people getting killed because women can't do their jobs is bad, which was why I would prefer to have rigorous standards that everyone must meet regardless of their gender.
Once again, exceptions don't make.
No. Sorry, I'm still engaging with chat on Steven stuff because let's be real, people love that shit. So Doobie, we know Connor has grounded morals and he feels he can get Steven to be straight and away from the degen shit. Yeah, I've been holding Connor's balls to the fire due to him associating with Steven. No. I don't know if I can change Steven at all. I don't know if I can change Steven at all. Okay. Steven's a grown ass man. He's almost 40. He's a multimillionaire. He doesn't need anybody for anything. He could settle the Pixie lawsuit for tomorrow. Like tomorrow. He could just pay 200 grand to Pixie. He could retire off of what he already has. He could literally just play video games all day if he wanted to. I have no leverage over Steven besides the criticism that he is willing to hear. So I can lead a horse to water. I cannot make him drink. And I am not making a bet whether or not the horse is going to drink the water. Okay. All I'm doing is saying, I like this horse. This horse and I have been friends for 5 years. This horse has lots of redeeming qualities mixed with some pretty bad qualities that I don't like. I'm going to criticize the horse and lead him to water. And if he dies of dehydration, that's kind of on him. But all I can do as this horse's friend is criticize his bad behavior and lead him to water. That's all I can do. And that's all I'm going to do. So no, I'm not Captain Save-A-Ho. I don't think I can save Steven's soul. Steven has to save his own soul. But in order for him to save his own soul, he has to believe he has one in the first place.
The rule. And I think he was clear about that.
Well, no, actually, in this case, it very much does.
Vince Wilson said, sorry, real quick. Hey, just got caught up, was in a meeting. So your criticism that we didn't get into Trump usurping Gavin Newsom authority is not totally correct. We got into it shortly after you ended it. Well, Vince, I'm sure you did. And my advice, take it with a grain of salt. I just think that you need to spurg out a little bit more. I think you need to freak out a little bit more. I think that when you continue to argue the technocratic stuff, you're correct, right? I think I said that when I was reviewing the debate. I had no problems with what you said or with what Corbin said. I think you guys are correct on the issue. I think you described things well. I think you had a good technocratic analysis of the situation. What I think Andrew was doing, though, was he was like pushing you on endless technocratic bullshit and jargon so he could avoid having the fight. And so for me, I would say, let's cut the bullshit. Let's get to, you say that this isn't consolidating power. I think it's the perfect example of consolidating power. Let's fight about whether or not it's good or bad. And maybe you did it. But, we operate on limited time on a stream. So sorry.
If you're saying no women should be able to do this, you are by definition saying, hey, everyone who can do this, I'm going to just cut off a certain percentage of you for absolutely no good reason other than because I have a dumb sexist rule. In the same way, if you want to ban them from the military, you're going to throw out like 20% of people that make us more effective. Now, if you say, hey, there's reasons we have...
Yeah, that's so stupid. If you dismissed all female law enforcement officers on virtue that they were female, that's so unbelievably stupid. 99%. I'm a former law enforcement officer. I know what law enforcement is. Okay, 99% of the job is driving from place to place within the city and writing book reports on fucked up shit that happened. Women are perfectly capable of doing that. Then the 1% that are fights and gunfights and shootings and stabbings and all that crazy shit, out of that 1%, 0.5% of it is talking someone down who's about to do crazy shit. And women, weirdly enough, are super talented at that. They have this like weird maternal sympathetic energy and they can act like a mom and they can browbeat schizophrenics with mom energy into not doing crazy shit. women in the 1% of law enforcement that is violence do have a necessary role that they fill where they can be good at it. Now, the other 0.5% where they actually have to fight someone, I'll admit it. Women are not as good in fucking fist fights and wrestling as men are. It's just true. But that's why they have a gun on their hip. So if a big dude starts beating the shit out of them, they can pull their gun and fucking blast them. So precluding female officers because they can't fight as well as men is a bullshit standard. I'm just telling you. I've served with one incompetent female who I did not like, and I served with 3 or 4 females that would make these dudes look like fucking pussies. So absolutely the fuck not. I fundamentally reject this line of argumentation.
Studies that they're not as good in combat roles and co-ed units, that's a perfectly valid argument.
Yeah,
but
so
to just
I
blindly cut them off.
In the infantry, but women can also serve in other jobs besides the infantry. We have doctors, we have nurses, we have supply admin people, we have EMTs, we have truck drivers, we have administrators, we have intel officers, we have translators. There's plenty of other things that women can do within the armed forces that is not related to physical combat.
From the military is just brain dead and stupid. And this is why I said this is shooting yourself in the foot if you want to just completely cut people who are effective at their jobs out because you have no other good reason than women.
Yes, dude. Liberals are correct. Red pillars are getting fucking owned.
And are bad on a whole in certain roles, but I'm not going to judge them based on an individual merit.
Based. Get it, soy pill. Get it.
Yeah, I would have a different view, though. I would think that it's okay. I'm for women being in supportive roles in the military, but not on, supportive.
Boom, and the concession to the reasonable take. Thank you.
For roles where they don't have to, where the military doesn't have to lower the physical standard for women to meet.
We agree.
So
Sure.
Yeah, but real quick, because I want to ask a question. So, would you say that abortion, us, women aborting 1 million babies per year,
Who's BTC? Gen X's BTC just, Brian Tyler Cohen said Josiah Altman or something like that is listed on it, waiting to see if it's our Josiah. I think it is. Somebody told me the other day that Josiah works with Chorus. So I don't know if that's true. I would let Josiah tell me whether or not he's working with Chorus. I don't give a shit. But I think Josiah works with Chorus. And if I remember correctly, Brian Tyler Cohen is one of the heads of Chorus.
Study came out that 28% of Gen Z was aborted. So you would say that that's...
Beef Supreme says, does this channel take a hard stance on Hassan and his community? Are we cultivating a space for Hassan fans to come and ruin chat? Dude, find me a doobie chat where he's simping for Hassan. I think the closest thing we got to that is that you're trained to hate Hassan. That was the closest thing to a doobie. And by the way, you guys are getting one guy. Doobie's one guy in you. Why can't you talk amongst each other? I get it. You hate Doobie. You want to fucking white blood cell and attack him, but what the fuck?
A bad thing, right? Because we are below replacement level, correct?
Why do you care? It's a preference. I don't think it really matters, right? You prefer
Uno reverse card. Good job, soy pill.
not that to happen. I prefer maybe that it could happen. I mean, what does it matter, right? I thought we haven't defined anything other besides preferences. So why are we somehow able now to nail down what is good or bad?
Oh yeah, no, that's what I've been trying to do. What do you consider good?
I'm just doing your thing, buddy. Do I think it's good that abortion exists? Is that what you're asking?
Do you think it's good that women abort over 1 million babies per year? We are below replacement level. 28%, literally a third of Gen Z has been aborted. Do you think that women having all full reproductive rights over who is born and who is not born in America, do you think that that is good?
Are you asking because you would imply that any restrictions on abortion would be sexist, and that's how it's related to the debate? Because I've noticed you've tried to shoehorn in abortion twice now.
Is it good?
Is sexism good? Are you saying that abortion restrictions are sexist?
Do you consider it to be sexist?
Eric Dom says, I feel like your more right-wing traits are more accepted among the likes of Destiny. The others seem too clean and devoid of profile. I know you like them, but I find them boring. No, I'm with you too. I mean, Pisco and I fight all the time, but part of the reason why we fight is because of my chud takes, right? It's because if I say what I say, he's like, oh, you're just like me. You and I. We are same. We are liberal. We are same. And then I'm like, okay, this is what I think about the blacks. And he's like, whoa. And I'm like, this is what I think about the Jews. And he's like, whoa. He's like, this is what I think about women. He's like, so yeah, like the safe play. Funnily enough, Eric Dom, I wonder if this is like a subconscious thing. I wonder if I'm too chud for Josiah Pisco Hutch, IRI, and Soy Pill, and I know that instinctively. Whereas I know with Destiny, I can at least do it, you know, partially as jokes, partially as descriptive fact. And he's not going to freak out because he does that shit at least as jokes, right? So maybe that's it. Maybe I don't want to go with like the sanitized corporate, you know, progressive liberals who are, you know, trying to be like they actively try to fight their sexism. They actively try to fight their racism. They actively try to fight their bigotry. Whereas I'm like, that's too soy. Like I want to have Jewish friends. I want to have black friends. I want to have Hispanic friends. I want to have gay and trans friends, but I also want to give them shit too, right? And I want to stereotype them because guess what? That's how I treat my white straight male friends. So yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe the real division, maybe the real reason not making the Machiavelli, maybe it has nothing to do. Maybe it has nothing to do with money. Nothing to do even with more. It has to do with the fact that people are too soy and is the N-word. That's crazy.
I mean, because men can't have abortion restrictions,
is
but
abortion?
whether or not, I don't think aborting a baby is really good, but I would prefer to live in a world where I could choose. Yeah, you got me. Buddy.
Okay. Yeah. So sexism is good. It's conceded the debate for the third time. Like,
Hold on, can you point?
Because we're talking about justified versus unjustified, you ignorant dumbass. God, I hate this guy.
Out, can you just point out where specifically where is the sexism? Because again, as Soy Pill says, men have abortions, and I think that there's something inherently unfair about the fact that a woman gives birth and doesn't want to marry the man that is on the hook for financial payments to this child. But if a woman decides that she to kill the baby of the man that she was sleeping with, she gets to do that without his consent. I think that there's clear unfairness there. I wish that less babies were being aborted. But can you highlight like what's the sexism angle here? What would you want to change?
Well, once again, I'm not, making descriptions here. I'm just asking a question.
Bruh, you suck at arguing.
Do you think that gynecologists are sexist?
I'm just asking a question. I'm not making any prescriptions here, but when you're.
Do you think gynecologists are sexist, Fugazi?
No, didn't you make? Oh, nice joke, by the way, and I like that he made Tali and Reggie. Good job, so you're good. I believe in you. I have faith in you. I think you're going to go far, kid. Yeah, for those who don't know, IRI, I'm really important, was in the Fly for a White Guy music video. And he did a comeback where he was dancing for Offspring on stage. Little known IRI lore. But this dude sucks at argumentation. And clearly the word that needs to be focused on is unjust. Soy Pill absolutely pointed this out, and he's dragging down the conversation. He doesn't even understand his own argumentation. Nice.
You said, do I think gynecologists are sexist?
Yeah.
Gynecologists are sexist. No, gynecologists have a specific job.
Well, yeah, but they won't see men.
Yeah, but they're doing sex discrimination, aren't they, Cooley? You dumbass.
That job itself, just like men having a bathroom and women having another bathroom, the job itself would essentially be.
So that's not sexist.
Sexist. No, I'm saying that
and
it is.
Separate bathrooms also.
Yeah, Ali says you're doing great at coalition building. However, libs have been flopping hard. I know, dude. It's because they don't have a spine, bro. They need to develop a spine.
So isn't sexist?
No. What are you? Can't hear, man. Active.
Oh, well, I'm just hey, look. You have a debate partner that was saying some stuff earlier, but if you guys want to move off of that, thanks for wasting 20 minutes. We could have.
No, I said yes, man, not no.
Okay, well, maybe you guys aren't fully on alignment of what should be done with sexism. I think you maybe should have coordinated a little before the debate.
I mean, this alignment was pretty good. We both brung up many examples. Like even in his opening, I said
he brought up bathrooms as an example, but you don't think that's sexist, so you guys disagree.
When did I ever say that it's not sexist?
Just now, 10 seconds ago.
You have bad active. You have the ears of a female.
Okay, well then I'll ask again. Do you think that gynecologists are sexist?
That's sexist.
Okay, so once again, I already answered the question. I'll go ahead and answer it for you again. So since gynecologists, it's a category of a medical field where doctors do a certain procedure or medical care for women. that in itself is inherently sexist, just like bathrooms and everything else. Like I said,
So it is sexist now. Okay.
yeah, that's what I said.
We can play the tape back.
No, we could play the tape back because it's exactly what I said. But so, I mean, you know, I guess I got some time for the open.
That sucks, man. You guys are confirming the Dan versus Mr. Mutin thing where Destiny has been replaced on his own podcast. But dude, this is kind of what I'm saying, okay? Steven is reaping the consequences of his own actions. He was a gooner in 2023, I guess, 2023. He was dating Lauren Southern, married to Melina, sexting Anna Voir, and sexting Rose all at the same time. He had no limits to his sexual proclivities. He pissed off every single woman in that orbit one by one. Anna Voir always loved and hated him simultaneously. Melina probably loved and hated him simultaneously. Lauren Southern loved him at first, but then probably grew to hate him over his bullshit when they broke up. And yeah, so eventually, like, everything fucking imploded. So now that the Rose thing is leaked, where he sent a bunch of homemade pornography to a dumb 18-year-old or 17-and-a-half-year-old who he thought was 18 or 19, allegedly, yeah, he's reaping his consequences. And so the consequences are he's lost his orbit. A lot of people view him as politically toxic. A lot of people won't even talk to him. A lot of people, they'll debate him, but they won't talk to him, you know? So and now Dan, one of his best friends and one of his most stalwart allies, can't even do what one of his most stalwart allies can't even do a regular podcast with him because he's so internet toxic that people are swatting his best friend. Or I don't know if they swatted him, but they definitely doxed his best friend. And they're harassing his best friend's wife. So yeah, chickens are coming home to roost. He can say that the punishment doesn't fit the crime, but you know, I don't even think that's relevant. That sucks. That sucks. I feel bad for Steven, but I also think that his chickens are coming home to roost. Doobie says, I was happy that Connor caught the fascism thing, by the way. Based. Connor wanted to send the goon squad after me. I really did. I really did want like half a dozen cops in riot armor to beat the shit out of Doobie. Yeah. Classic time, classic days. Feels like yesterday to me.
Panel, Sarah, because they just conceded the debate. Let's bring up some more people.
I just wonder why you're running away from your real positions. Like you're like,
Exactly.
well, oh, so you
What
think we
real
should have separate
position?
bathrooms? Guess you concede, but I know what your real position is, which I think women shouldn't vote. I think women shouldn't
Sorry, real quick. Sacred Snow says, I can't wait for the day when my wife is making fun of me for my wardrobe being entirely consisting of polos and t-shirts with children's drawings on them. Counterpoints merchandise. True.
workforce as much. Like I've watched your videos. Why don't you want to defend that at all?
What are your
question, man.
prescriptions? What are your prescriptions? So your debate.
At least Speakeasy gave one, as much as it was
Correct.
something like, hey, maybe women shouldn't go places where their pregnancy is going to be threatened, which makes perfect sense. But do you have maybe some prescriptions on what sexism?
Well, he gave
should be
another
implemented?
prescription and then walked
Okay,
it
the
back. He said
entire
he would
the
take
entire debate is just this. Okay, well we hit 4 hours, so we'll wrap it up as a segment. If this is the entire thing of Cooley not understanding the argument, Soy Pill and Tali funnily describing reality and dunking on Cooley, and Speakeasy sitting in the background, I'm good. You know, we made it through 40 minutes of it. We probably skipped most of it. But I think this does highlight something, as much as we might have gotten distracted by chat and all that kind of stuff. Tali makes descriptive claims that I agree with. Soy is good at dunking, and I hope that he continues to be a debate bro in the space. I think he has the talent for it. Cooley No Fugazi is a cheap African-American copy of Andrew Wilson. Speakeasy had a strong argument, but right now that it's time to throw elbows, he's not doing anything. You know, I've let this thing play for probably 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes. And after a strong opening, he hasn't defended a single position. He's just let Speakeasy ruin the conversation. So, you know what? Congratulations to Tali. Congratulations to Soy Pill. I'm going to engage with chat, and then we're going to wrap. Quick shill reminder. You guys were very generous on Monday. You were very generous on Tuesday. Today's been a little bit less generous, but that's okay.